What's up, y'all? Devon here again for Obligatory, bringing you another weekly roundup of music news for this week, Friday, July 21, 2023. We have a lot to get to, all of which I'm pretty excited to talk about, but we do have it all chaptered, so if you want to jump right to something, you can. But we start with A$AP Rocky, who recently did an interview with Complex and covered a lot of ground as to what he's been up to as of late. He did speak on the new music that he's working on, and probably the most interesting nugget of information he dropped here was the list of producers that we can expect to hear on this upcoming album. Himself, Pharrell, Tyler the Creator, The Alchemist, Madlib, Dean Blunt, yes, Dean Blunt, Metro Boomin, Boy Wonder, Hit Boy, Swedish House Mafia, and Mike Dean and Hit Kid. And he seemed like he stopped short and saved a name or two for them to be a surprise for later. Now, a few of these to me are very exciting, and all of them, you know, in one way or another seem to fit well with Rocky, because Rocky is a dynamic artist with lots of different sensibilities as a musician. My question is, how does it all come together for an album? You know, what is this album going to sound like? Because with this producer list, I just have no clue. He also explained that the length of delays on the album, because this has been something he's been talking about for some time and in previous interviews as well, has largely been due to leaks of songs intended for the album making their way onto the internet. And basically, he says each time that's happened, they have creatively gone back to the drawing board a little bit and changed the scope of the record. It does sound like at this point he's nearing the end of the creation process, and now maybe we're getting into the territory of submitting and promoting the album. Travis Scott's album, Utopia, I'm pretty sure has a release date. Last week we talked here about how Travis Scott's long-awaited Utopia album may finally see its release very soon, but there was some debate as to whether it was going to be released today or next week. I don't know what kind of information Rolling Loud Miami thought they had, but we did not get Utopia today. We got a single in K-pop featuring Bad Bunny and The Weeknd, but an iHeartRadio station that recently spoke with Travis seems to be under the impression that the album is set to release on July 27. As far as I can tell, Travis is still set to perform at the Pyramids of Giza in Egypt this Friday, even though there was a group in Egypt that was attempting to ban him and block him from doing this. Noname has finally confirmed the release date for her upcoming album, Sundial. Some of y'all may remember last week, Noname going back and forth on Twitter with fans about the backlash she was receiving for putting Jay Electronica on her album. And she even went so far as to threaten to not release the album. Just a few days later, she came out with the official drop date of August 11th. She also announced the track list, and there aren't a ton of features, but we did see Common. I saw Silk Money and Billy Woods on the same song to close the album. I don't think I could anticipate a song more than this year. If my excitement for this album was a 10, and it was, now I'm at an 11. Blu Exile announced this week they are getting the rights back to their beloved debut album, Below the Heavens. They have not received any residual income from sales on the album, aside from the notoriety and recognition that they get for having made the album. I mean, this to many fans is among the greatest hip-hop records for them of all time, especially when you look at things on the underground scale. Prior to the album's release, they received advances, small ones, but that was virtually it. And so even though this was posted to Exile's Instagram and announced, and we're all pretty excited about it, the details surrounding how exactly and why specifically at this time the rights are being transferred back to them are not entirely clear, at least to me. But they did also announce that they will be repressing the vinyl for this album. So if you want an opportunity to really line their pockets directly, they will be getting the majority of the sales from your vinyl purchase whenever they drop it sometime in 2024. Billy Woods never rests for long, because we are already getting rumblings of an up-and-coming Armand Hammer album, and really we're starting to get the rollout for it, it seems already. The album is set to be titled We Buy Diabetic Test Strip, which even for a Billy Woods and or Armand Hammer release is an interesting one. So first off, Elucid posted a toll-free phone number, 1-877-ARM-AND-HAMMER. When you call, you hear a kind of obscured snippet of something that I assume is going to be on the album. The feature list is cool. We got multiple features from Pink Sifu and Jungle Pussy, as well as More Mother, and the lead singer of Soul Glow is also going to be on this record as well. So maybe the only detail I'm not 100,000% sure about here is the release date of September 29th. I'm reserving just some of my certainty here, but it does seem like there's tons of smoke to this fire and that we will be getting this Armand Hammer record soon. So we'll be keeping our ears to the ground for more information, and when we know something, y'all will know something here probably in the near future. Experimental hip-hop and sound collage artist Slauson Malone announced this week that he will be partnering with Warp Records, which is home to a lot of great artists including Aphex Twin, Flying Lotus, Danny Brown, Yves Tumor, and like so many more. If you don't know Slauson, he's most lauded for his work with the New York collective Standing on the Corner, as well as his solo debut record A Quiet Farewell 2016-2018. Now, the announcement doesn't come with any specific news of an upcoming project, but you'd imagine one may precipitate from this newfound deal. Slauson is set to open for King Krule on a number of tour dates, and then after that, he'll be going on a set of headline gigs as well. So something to keep note of, put it in your back pocket, think about it later. I'm sure we'll be getting something at some point relatively soon. All right, here we got some jazz meets anime news. In Kamasi, Washington, Floating Points and Bonobo will be set to collaborate for the soundtrack of an upcoming action-adventure anime written by Shinichiro Watanabe, animated by MAPPA. The series is called Lazarus, and the show's creator is responsible for some all-time incredible shows, namely Cowboy Bebop and Samurai Champloo. MAPPA, the animation company, is known for shows like Chainsaw Man or even the final season of Attack on Titan. Very exciting. We really only have like a baseline of information and the concept for the show and just early announcements. This does have Adult Swim written all over it, so when this manifests, that's probably where you're gonna watch it. Here is some exciting news. Earl Sweatshirt's Sick is finally being released on vinyl. Can we blame Taylor Swift or maybe even Adele for this? I have no idea. But Earl Sweatshirt announced via Instagram this morning that fans can finally buy a copy of Sick vinyl, either on blue or black wax. All you gotta do is go to his web store to pre-order yours today. We talked in recent weeks about how he's set to go on a short stint of Dora's 10-year anniversary shows, one in LA, one in Chicago, New York, and in London. And I'm curious to know if any of y'all are going to any of those Doris shows. I would love to envy you personally. It looks like things are going to get a little difficult for international artists attempting to tour in the United States, as the US government is trying to hike the price of visas for these touring artists over 4.5 times their current price. Now, this is news because the decision was recently delayed, and essentially the good news here is that the decision was, one, delayed, and two, may possibly see reductions in the amount that they are proposing. The bad news is that they're still planning to raise the price of these visas, and there's a lot of room for them to come down and still be raising it quite an egregious amount. Recently we've been covering the waves of ongoing concert and tour cancellations at the hands of many different artists at different sizes and scales for really a variety of reasons, but in the end it really comes down to the difficult mental, physical, and financial toll it takes on artists to go on tour. Again, these artists are typically working on thin margins. And yeah, they're getting attention and notoriety beyond the money, but without the money, they can't really afford to do this. All right, now before we talk about some albums coming out very soon, some albums with release dates, we got a couple rest in pieces to put out to a couple amazing artists. The first is Tony Bennett, who passed away this morning, July 21, at the age of 96. He had a long and incredible life. He was one of our longest running active musicians alive at this point. His music career began professionally after World War II, in which he was an infantryman, and his final album came out in 2021. So for like 60 to 70 years, this man was one of the most widely recognizable and timeless artists in modern music history. He also recently did the Cheek to Cheek album with Lady Gaga, which brought him a new era of widespread acclaim for a new generation of fans to be familiar with him. Yeah, just one of the absolute heavyweights of music, period, has passed today. Jane Birkin passed away earlier this week, aged 76. She was the British and French actress and singer most widely recognized for her acting and singing in the controversial film Je t'aime moi non plus, and she was also in some American films like Death on the Nile, and even lent her name to the Hermes Birkin bag. So next time you hear Westside Gunn popping some fly shit about Birkin bags, you can pour a little something out for Jane. All right, now to wrap things up, I have some upcoming album releases, confirmed album titles and dates that are set to come out in the next several months. The ones listed in bold here are the ones that I particularly am looking forward to. Honestly, there's all kinds of good shit coming out for the rest of this year, on top of a lot of really great and interesting albums that have already come out this year. I think 2023 has been a pretty fantastic album year, at least for me, and I kind of wonder how y'all feel about the music that's been released, some of the music you're hearing is set to come out, and how you think this album and how you think this year is shaping up in comparison to other 2020 years, as well as just the average music year in general. So let me know down in the comments section what you think, and also linked in the description is our community album review surveys, as well as our mid-year album of the year survey. We do a lot of follower focused, community generated music journalism content, and if you're interested in that sort of thing, you can follow us linked in our Linktree socials, again in the description. So thank you again for watching. Clicking the like button on this video genuinely helps us, and a subscription is the best way to keep up with our weekly videos, and I will most definitely be back next week with another news roundup. So until then, see you then. Thanks for watching. Peace out.